Reminiscing about the days I missed my childhood. In the cell, counting days, eating child food. That killed my cousin in the streets over foul rules. Now I'm repping what he lived by, then it's soundproof. I did it all for STL, y'all was slide for it. Yeah, I paid for my mistakes, I took a while for it. And all that artificial love, I was down for it. Until your homies do you wrong and knock you down for it.
Hey, yo, what's good with everybody, man? I hope everybody's having a productive day, feeling blessed, and like I always say, it's one life, one chance. We only got one chance to do this right. Let's get it done. That being said, one of my subscribers shot this video to me. Now, initially, when the actual video came out on YouTube, it was by Body Hotels. Boy, hit crazy numbers when this video came out, but I don't think it's on YouTube anymore. I'm not sure why he took it down. But he did a crazy investigative work, crazy work, and it went viral. It was a good video. He did his due diligence and exercised his journalism rights, and he came through with a crazy story. It got taken down, but a lot of people, what I noticed on Instagram is they'll use our content, record it, post it on a reel, get their page popping, and all this and that. So he did a video, got taken down. Somebody posted online. They shot it to me. They said, hey, man, do a reaction to this video. Now, the subscriber obviously said it in a jokingly manner, probably pretty much hoping that I was going to roast something and be funny about it. I could be funny when I want to be, but, you know, I take my YouTube channel very serious with the positive message that I do. So let's get into the video. Now, what you're going to see across the screen, you know, obviously there was an old documentary about, you know, Midget, Crook, and one of his crimies. I've seen people do reactions to him. People ask me to do reactions to him. I chose not to because other people have done it, so it kind of looks like you're stealing content. This one in particular is because of a certain question they asked me. So you got this dude Crook doing an interview from Vadio Tortilla Flats, and, you know, he's a Southern gang member. He was acting hard on the documentary, and sure enough, went to federal prison, and he transitioned. He transformed, became a woman, and whatever his name is as a woman, whatever he chooses to identify himself as, and what took place in jail and how he converted from a man to a woman, that's that man's prerogative. He chose to do that. So obviously a lot of people on Instagram made fun of the video. A lot of people had a lot of funny stuff to say about it on Body Hotels video. And I do understand why, and trust me, I get it. No, like I said, I'm never been fake on YouTube. I was on the SNY and transsexuals came on the SNY. You're going to see a very small handful of them on the level 4s, but you'll see a majority of them on levels 3s, level 2s. You know, I told you stories about certain transsexuals that I was on the yard with. Some of them were, you know, beneficial to the gangs, and some of them were just, you know, trying to be assets to them, like give up the yeeks, the yammers, or whatever. So let me talk about something. I mean, if you was to see the video about Crook from Tortilla Flats and Midget, you're going to think about, man, there's some 3 hardcore young thug gang members that threw their life away since the beginning of the time were proud to be gang members, proud to be cholos, proud to be from neighborhoods and barrios and, you know, dress up in Pendletons with lokes and big brochas. If you didn't know the aspect of, you know, Crook turning into a woman in prison, all you would see is these hardcore gang members. This is what thugs look like. This is what gang members look like. This is what cholos look like. But now that you know that the man transitioned into a woman in prison, see, I was in prison for a long time on the SNY, right? And I seen different scenarios of why these dudes transition from being a man to a woman. Now, when I talked about the NF member, I had got his name wrong. It was an accident. My apologies, but I never did a video to correct it. But his name was Jesse Fernandez. I called him something else in a video, but he was actually an NF member. He wasn't a very long time NF member, but he was still made as an NF member. And then he nicknamed himself Lala. And trust me when I tell you, there was a lot of people on the SNY with that dude's name tatted on their stomachs and chests and fighting over him and all kinds of stuff. Then there was a transsexual. He still gangbanged. He still banged his Vadio, but his name was Mousy. His name was Mousy. Transsexual from a Southern gang, still repped his neighborhood on the SNY and still hooked up with Southerners and gave Southerners hickeys all day. I talked about him in one of my YouTube videos. But I also seen scenarios where, you know, prison's prison. That whole drop the soapman thing that goes on, that's not really a thing. Not that I know of, but people make fun of it. But there's men in jail that overwhelm their cellies, that overwhelm their neighbors, that physically assault people and indulge in that kind of behavior, sexual, you know what. And sometimes when you're able to overpower another man in jail and take it from him, you just took that man's pride and ego. You just took every sense of him being a man away from him You robbed them of that. It's the same thing that takes place with women. You know, women that are victims of certain type of sexual encounters, it destroys them mentally for a very long time. Now, some people are resilient. There's a lot of women that are resilient, that overcome those situations. And there could be men that can overcome those situations in jail. I mean, don't believe American Me just because on American Me, dude got his used hooks, he turned around and stabbed old boy and they want to go out like that. Yeah, there's going to be some men that will never let that happen to them. And if it happens to them, they're going to retaliate in such a fashion. But there's going to be some victims that are just going to break spiritually. I've seen that in jail. I've seen certain dudes just transition and become a woman. And in reality, though, man, this is a dumb excuse to make for people, but I got to be truthful. I can't be fake about it. There's some dudes in jail that just can't hack the fact that there's nobody there for them. They have no companionship. They long for something, human touch, human nature. They miss their wives. They can't get their wives. They're doing live. There could be a lot of scenarios and a lot of excuses, whether you guys want to justify them or call them unjust, where dudes just say, you know what, I'm just going to sleep with another man. And then they wonder why a lot of women in society think that men are gay left and right. A lot of dudes in jail just conform to that nature. You know, I want to be with somebody. And they end up hooking up with their cellies. It happens. I can't sit here and say that I know every reason why I seen a transgender on the yard and why they converted. Like I said, I seen a Nazi lowrider turn into a transgender. I seen a dude that ran Crip turn into a transgender. But I've seen also a lot of people that used to be gang members on the main lines, go to SNY. They didn't turn into transgenders, but they sure in the hell, you know, were piping something down. Hey, that's that man's prerogative. What they choose to do with their body, how they choose to identify themselves as, has never been none of my business, right? But let me tell you a story. I was in that seg one time, and a transgender showed up as my neighbor. He was from, man, I don't know if it was Vacaville or Victorville. It was one or the other, right? But he was in there for prostitution. I got to talk to him on the van because he was my neighbor. So, you know, I was being, you know, cordial with people, all my neighbors, whether they're active or SNY. And me and my celly Danger were just like indulging with him. Like, I want to know what's up with this fool. Like, what's up with his mentality? And the thing about it is he was pimping out. You know, he was getting pimped on the streets. He was a prostitute somewhere in Victorville, Vacaville. And he even had the whole BBL done before it was like, this was like in 2016, 2017. So he had his body done, still had his, you know, manguera hanging. I guess his pimp paid for that to make more money. Well, he said that his pimp used to send him to Atlanta a lot. He said that the transgender community, and especially in prostitution, was a big thing. So his pimp used to send him out there all the time. So we asked him, I had to ask him, I was like, hey, bro, like, what happened? Like, well, man, you were a thug for a while. You were gangbanging, just a hardcore thug like any other thug on the streets. Like, what happened to you? This was the only person on the SNY that told me why they transitioned to where they transitioned. Said when he was gangbanging, he was a thug, doing everything he did, and his neighborhood ran a train on him. This is his story. I don't know if it was true or not. They ran a train on him. They used to treat him like crap. They used to treat him like it was a B word. And it came with it. He thought he was a hardcore gang member. He thought he was a street life thug. And I guess he wasn't really about that life in that aspect. He tried to be. And I guess his neighborhood seen that. So instead, they took advantage of him. Got him dressing like a girl. Pimped him out. And he said he found love with the lifestyle afterwards. He said it was over with. He said it comes from, you know, being touched as a kid, not talking about it, growing up knowing that he was molested and touched as a kid. He didn't talk about it. He tried to use the street life aspect to make him tough. That didn't work out for him. His neighborhood took advantage of him, started pimping him, and he just became a woman or transitions to be one and identify as one. And then he went to prison for prostitution, and now you got dudes on the tier like begging to be his celly. And I was like, all right, it makes sense. So look, there's more to it. I think a lot of people in society choose to be that because for whatever reason, sometimes they might not have a sad story. They just choose to identify what they want to identify as, to take control of their lives, because in reality, none of us have control of our lives. We work, we do this, we do that. Somebody's in control of our lives in some way or another, whether it's a bill collector, a landlord, whatever. So this video is that I can't sit here and make fun of somebody that went to federal prison and transitioned to be a woman, and that's what he chooses to identify himself as. Because it's none of my business. And now I'm not going to sit here and dig for a reason or a justification or excuse from that man, Crook, why he was a gang member and why he decided to become a woman in jail. It just happens. That's my maturity for everybody to see that it just happens. It's not my business to really try to find out. I just know from personal experiences by, like I said, talking to my neighbor and seeing some of these dudes get violated in prison to the point that they don't bounce back from being a man. They just end up becoming somebody's woman, somebody's B word in jail. But I didn't dwell on it in jail and be like, man, what happened to that fool? Like I said, I told a story a long time ago about some dude that had a crush on me in jail that was an SNY because I seen him get thrown. He was already a transgender, but some dude threw him in a cell, took it. I didn't like it. I fought the dude for it. Dude seen that I fought the dude over it because I wasn't a fan of just somebody taking somebody else's jams, like physically in a sense of a R word. I'm always going to stand against it. I don't care who you're doing it to. In today's political arena, when it comes to like political parties and politics, you know, that's a big topic to discuss. And I've shared my point of view about it a long time ago. Just don't teach it to my kids. If my kids are in school, a parent doesn't have somebody's parent or a teacher doesn't have the right to teach my kids or expose them to that kind of things. When let my kids become curious about it, and I'll teach my kids what they are. My kids can make their own decisions. You're not going to influence my decision. You're not going to influence my kids by how you address it, by your point of view, your belief system, what you teach in school, what books are being published, what's being worn on t-shirts, why society should be accepting of it. You're not going to teach my kids none of that. That's my only aspect that I have about that political sense. Let me teach my kids what I want to teach my kids, and they can make their decisions when they become adults or when they become mature enough to understand. But when it comes to prison, like I said, I don't know why some of these guys do it in prison. Because in reality, there's a bunch of dudes in society that, you know, they be having beautiful wives. They be having baddies. And then their wives catch them kicking it with the homies way too much. Text messages by their homies way too much. Caught their man in bed with their homies way too much. I see it all over social media. And sometimes I sit there and be like, man, homegirl was bad. Yeah, I get it. Relationships don't always work out. Some toxic relationships drive dudes out of a relationship. Doesn't mean a woman could drive me up the wall and drive me crazy, but she ain't gonna drive me into the bed of another man. Just not like that. It happens to a lot of people. Maybe we're in a society where people are just exploring. Oh well, bi-curious. Oh well, none of my business. Whatever that man decides to be in life, that's that man's prerogative. I could never judge anybody for what they do with their lives when it comes to that kind of thing. It's your body. And God gave you free choice, free will to do as you please. Some people are against it because it's a sin. Some people are against it on political beef. Some people are just against it because they're stuck in the beliefs of I'm a man, you're a woman, and man and women were meant to be together because woman was made for man. In accordance to the Bible, Adam's rib was taken out to make Eve. Whatever the case may be, whatever your belief system you stand on. Like I said, I don't know why men in jail decide to convert. I've seen dudes like, prime example, the Menendez brothers. One of them, I don't know which one it was, the one that was in Kern Valley with me. We weren't on the same yard together, but everybody knew that man had a transsexual in the cell, and he went to visit a wife. Everybody knew he went to visit with a hickey, but he went home. But when he went to visit, he had a wife. When he went home, he got some yams. It's on him. It didn't bother me to know, hey, one of the Menendez brothers is on the yard fruiting off. I was like, whatever, that's that man's prerogative. It never bothered me to know that my neighbors were on the under being gay with each other, but came out, tried to act hard, and they had gang-related tattoos from their neighborhoods and had None of that ever bothered me whatsoever. I just feel like, you know, even though we might tell stories or we might see people do reactions to certain people's political statements, everybody's entitled to be who they want to be. I'm trying to be, you know, a great mindset, a great coach on YouTube, you know, for pro-youth, you know, anti-gangs. That is my stance. That's my belief system. I could never tell a man what he needs to do with his body, just like I would never tell a woman what she could do with her body. I stand neutral on that. So I guess you could say a lot of people are going to take these kind of contents and these kind of scenarios in a funny aspect, in a jokingly matter, and make fun of people. You know, I don't know what anybody goes through in jail unless they share it with me. So I don't know why some of these guys decide to do that. We can make excuses or we can try to argument it out and debate about what switch goes off in their head. You know, I never sat there in a jail cell and thought about it. I just knew to stay away from a certain door. If it was boarded up and it smelled a certain way, I knew to stay away. If I seen a curtain go up in a shower on a level 3 and then both of them were in there, I knew to stay away and I looked that direction. Sometimes you just got to be careful in what cell you walk up to and what cell you look into. You might just see some things that you don't want to see. It happens in jail. It's the nature of jail. That's what just goes on. So that's my reaction to that video. Since somebody shot it to me, they asked for my personal opinion. I'm pretty sure they were expecting something different. But I'm not that type of characteristic on YouTube to make fun of it and try to sound funny and, you know, and bash somebody else's life just for my own sense of humor and for other people's, you know, laughter. I couldn't do it. I know you guys are probably going to judge me like being boring, but I'm sorry that I couldn't do that. So with that being said, like I always say, it's one life, one chance. We only got one chance to do this right. Let's get it done. Peace.